It seems there have been some debates lately about anime characters who have earned their power through hard work, as opposed to those who have gotten it through being gifted. Now, of some of the ones that I've seen, I don't know whether they are being serious or satirical on some of the ones that they've ranked, but it sometimes makes you wonder if anyone actually has watched these characters. So I've decided to go through just a few characters to discuss whether or not they got strong through hard work or being gifted, i.e. being born with it, or it just naturally came to them. Okay, so anyone who thinks Izuku Midoriya got his abilities from being gifted obviously has never watched the show, or even read the manga. He was born quirkless in a world full of superpowers, and even when given the chance to be the successor to his greatest hero, he still had to train 10 months just to even have that power. And even after he got One for All, he couldn't even use 5% of it without completely shattering his bones. Before and after receiving One for All, he was constantly studying, finding ways to improve. And that's before learning about the quirks from previous One for All users that he had to learn how to control. It was basically a constant struggle every day for him to get stronger and find his own identity. Izuku Midoriya is definitely 100% hard work. Now things get a little more trickier when it comes to Ichigo, especially given the fact that we already know he's a Soul Reaper, a Quincy, a Visored, a Hollow, a Fullbringer. Honestly, by this point, I'm also waiting for them to say that he's also a Saiyan, a Yoshi, and who knows what else. However, that doesn't mean that he also hasn't had to train, especially as he has found out more and more about himself. But however tough the training, it can also be seen as him being a natural at it, as he does tend to complete things far quicker than most. Although he has had to have some guidance, he still catches on pretty easily, especially when you consider Aizen's hand in it with such things as the Hollow White. So you might argue with me on it, but I'd put Ichigo at 85% gifted, 15% hard work. Now in the case of Naruto, he pretty much sits in the same boat as Ichigo in the fact that it's a little bit trickier with him. Having to be the son of Kushina and Minato, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, and reincarnation of Ashura Atsutsuki, he was pretty much already destined for it, especially being the child of prophecy. That doesn't mean, though, that he had it completely easy. Clone Jutsu was one of his worst, but after stealing a scroll, the Shadow Clone Jutsu became one of his signature. While he also struggled a bit with Rasengan, he still managed to get it quicker than expected, even creating his own variations through training. And even if he had a larger chakra amount than most, that doesn't mean that he was completely great at using it, especially with times when he's had to rely on others like the Nine-Tails, or even rely on those to help him when controlling the Nine-Tails. And there were times when he's had to get clever with doing things that he had harder time with, such as gathering nature chakra during battle. So in a way, a lot like Ichigo, except reversing his numbers in that 85% hard work and 15% gifted. The last one we'll be talking about today is Goku. And while some may think that him being a Saiyan means he's fully gifted, I'd say it's more of it makes it a little easier for him for some of the training than it does a human, especially when you take into consideration times he's faced an enemy he couldn't beat and had to train to get stronger. Saiyans will usually push their bodies to the limits and then break through those. In fact, the whole thing between him and Vegeta the first time was about hard work versus those of higher rank, and inspired Vegeta to start working hard to get stronger. Most things that Goku can do, he wouldn't have been able to without working hard to get it. And then there were some that just kind of came out of nowhere. So while yes, I do take into consideration that Saiyans are typically born with higher power levels than a human, Goku was one who was born with a much lower power level and worked to get where he is. So with all of that, I would put him at 95% hard work and only 5% of it being gifted. But what do you think about hard work versus gifted with these characters? Or any characters? Let me know in the comments below. Also, be sure to like and subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified. And until next time, keep gaming.